do you see me being serious by waving this in your face? This is serious. What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Lanita, and today we are going to talk about brushes. So before we get started, if you are new here, please click that link below to subscribe so you can see more of my pretty face and so you can check out some of my previous uploads. They should be on the side somewhere around here for you to check out. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so today I am here to break down my favorite makeup brushes. When I tell you that all of my makeup brushes except two, I think, are very affordable. I love Morphe, I love NYX brushes, I do love MAC brushes, I do love Fenty's brushes, I do love Makeup Forever's brushes, I love Sephora's brushes too, but my Morphe and NYX brushes hold me down. So we are going to get right into those right now. My favorite face brushes right now are these ones right here, and I'm gonna break them down piece by piece, okay? So this brush right here is it's called the Airbrush Blender Brush by e.l.f. It is so bomb. I came across this brush like 2 or 3 months ago, and I used to use the M458 like everybody else because of how dense it was, so it really gets in there. Because I used to use a beauty blender, but I felt like it was taking too long, and I have like slight carpal tunnel, so anything small like that I can't hold for a long time because it really hurts my hands after a while. So I needed a brush that had a nice gripping handle that I could really get in with, and the angle of this brush presses right up against my face. It presses right in there, and it gives me such an airbrush finish. I literally do not use anything else for foundation but this brush. My favorite brush for powder is the M426 brush. I talked about this brush in my last video, but I do want to go into a little bit more detail here. So this brush, I love it for powder. I love it for finishing powder. If I was gonna use a brush for powder foundation, I wouldn't use this brush because the wispiness of this brush lets you have a nice airbrush finish with your finishing powder. If I was gonna use a brush for powder foundation, I would go with a brush that was more compact, maybe a little bit more flat, has a lot more bristles in it, something that's more dense, because that's gonna pick up a lot of product. This doesn't pick up a ton of product, but with my finishing powder, I'm not looking for a ton of product to be picked up. I'm looking for a light amount of product to be placed on the end of this brush so that I can finish off my skin with a nice airbrush finish. So I use this with like my MAC Mineralized Skin Deep, MAC Mineralized Skin Finish Dark Deep powder. I use it with, I even have used it with my Fenty powder. Just dab a little bit in there and just really go all over the skin to give a nice soft finish. This brush is so bomb. This brush sat in my collection for the longest. I had no idea what I would use this for, but I started using it to apply my powder because I realized that when I was using my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish with my regular powder brush, I felt like it was picking up too much product and I was looking dry, I was looking cakey. So the wispiness of this brush gave me the desired effect that I really needed. So this brush, bomb. The next brush that we have on the list is my Japanese brush. This brush was a cheek game changer. All right, game changer. This brush I got from Target, and it literally looks like the NARS brushes. Not the Ita brush, but it looks similar to that. It's even like similar construction, so I guess this is like a knockoff of the NARS brushes. But anyways, this brush is so soft, and see how it kind of comes to like a tapered point? This tapered point just gets into those cheeks. I use it for blush, I use it for bronzer. If I'm using a highlighter that isn't too impactful, like my Bobbi Brown highlighters, those aren't like boom chrome highlighters, I'll even use this too to give me like a light wash of highlight on my cheek. Like this brush, it's a game changer. I use it for everything, and it's so cheap. It was so cheap, and it's so soft, and the bristles, they're not that they're not as wispy, but they're so soft. They just kind of naturally flow within the contours of your face. This brush is a game changer, seriously. This is my favorite brush. If I travel, if I'm doing a client, on myself, I literally use this brush every single day. I love, love, love this brush. I also use the M403 brush for highlight. This is my favorite highlight brush. I've used like the M501, which is more tapered. I've used fan brushes. Nothing gives me my highlight like this, but I'm gonna tell you what my real highlight trick is: my beauty blender. My beauty blender blends out highlight beautifully, but sometimes if my beauty blender has a lot of product left on it, if I use a really, really heavy concealer, I won't use my beauty blender to blend out my highlight because I don't want any of that foundation getting on there. But a beauty blender blends out highlight beautifully. But this brush is my favorite to do so. I'll even use this for blush sometimes, but I really, really use it for highlight. I just stipple it in like that, and then just small circles. And because it's pretty light, but it's still a little dense, it doesn't move the product around a lot, and you do get a lot of product when you're using this brush, so do be careful because it is really, really dense. But stippling it in and then going like that in little teeny circles gives me such a bomb finish. This brush is bomb. This is another brush that I had forever, and I felt like my highlight was never laying how I wanted it to when I use brushes, that is. So I was like, let me just see what this one is about, and I haven't put it down since. I also use the R5 brush. This brush I love for setting my under eye. I've used it in a few videos in the past, but what I primarily use it for is for my brightening powders. So if I'm using my Kunafa Huda Beauty powder, which is like a golden color, or if I'm going into a pressed powder that's really light and I want to use that to set my under eye, I go in with this brush. This brush, because it comes to a point and it's small, I like how it concentrates the color right where I need it to go. I'll even use it down here. I'll use the pointy end of it to kind of sharpen my under cheek bone area here. So this is another one that I had in my collection for a while, and I just started using it to set my under eye. I don't use it with my setting powder. I use my beauty blender for that, or a powder puff like the Laura Mercier one. So I really use this for brightening. Still going in with a loose powder or a pressed powder, but I really primarily use this brush for brightening. So this is my favorite eyebrow brush right now. I just wanted something that was dual purpose, where I have the spoolie on one end and then the actual brush head on the other end. The one I had before was a MAC brush, and it worked really, really nicely, but I felt like I was always looking for a spoolie within my collection somewhere. So I like how this one has a dual-ended brush. There's nothing really special about this brush. It's just the one I'm using right now. This brush is really dope. I just got it recently. It's the 203, but it's just an eyebrow brush. The last face brush that I'm going to show you guys is my M334. This brush is perfect for going down the contours of the nose. It is very dense, so it picks up a good amount of product, but it still is a little fluffy, so it doesn't like boom, boom, boom. Like, it doesn't give you any lines of demarcation. I just take this brush and literally glide it down the side of my nose. And because it comes to this angle, it just glides through the contours of my nose. And I even use that angle part to brush up into my brow hair when I'm doing my nose contour. This brush is really, really nice. I actually used to use this brush for my highlight for a long time because it really did the job of like concentrating the product right where I needed it to, because it's kind of small, but I felt like it wasn't blending it out really nicely. So that's why I switched over to the other one. If you don't do nose contour, I don't necessarily think this is worth having in your collection, to be honest, but it is really nice if you do a slight nose contour. Now we're gonna switch gears a little bit and we are going to talk about eyeshadow. I have probably 50 or more eyeshadow brushes. I think they're just something you collect over the years, but even though I have so many, I always find myself reaching for the same ones. One tip that I do have for you if you're trying to build your brush collection, find brushes that you really like and buy multiples of them. It is so irritating when you have your favorite crease brush and it's dirty and you don't feel like washing your brushes, so that you can use it again. Or you use your favorite crease brush with a black eyeshadow, and now you try to go in with the brown. We both know how that's gonna turn out. Muddy and messy, honey. So buy multiples of your favorite brushes. I'm telling you, it'll save you a headache. And you won't feel like you need to clean your brushes all the time. Clean your brushes though, but I'm just saying, let's be real. We got shit to do. Don't nobody got time to be cleaning brushes every Friday. I know I don't. I sure as hell don't. So my point is, buy multiples of your brushes. That is a huge tip that I can give you guys. So back to what my favorite brushes are. So there's only a few that I reach for all the time. I'm not huge into eyeshadow. That's not my thing. If you've been following me, you'll see I don't love eyeshadow colors. I'm not huge on color. I'm a very simple glam. My favorite thing is base. My base needs to be flawless. So I invest my money in skincare and base products. I have tons of eyeshadow palettes, don't get me wrong. And I love doing eyeshadow on other people. I love doing colorful looks from time to time, but for the most part, I don't really do a lot of funky eyeshadow. That's just not my thing. But when I do eyeshadow, these are the main brushes that I reach for. So let's break them down one by one. The first one is a MAC 286. MAC 286 brush. The wispiness of those bristles really helps clean up the edges to make sure everything is blended nicely. I don't really use this to deposit products. I use it when I've gone in with my crease brushes and okay, I need a clean brush to make sure everything is blended nicely. I go in with this brush. The wispiness of these edges are really, really nice for that. I love it for that. But since we're talking about crease brushes, I have my two favorite crease brushes right now. My two favorite crease brushes are one by NYX. It is the number 16. And my second favorite crease brush is actually by Fenty. It's the number 210. I love this brush. Both of these brushes together are a dynamic duo. The Fenty one is a little wider, as you can see, so it definitely blows out the crease really, really well. And the NYX one is a little bit more tapered, so it gets right in that large crease area and blends out product really, really nicely. These two together are dope. I use this one mainly for like my transition shades, and then I'll use this one for a deeper shade to deepen the crease. But both of these together are bomb, bomb, dot. So now we're gonna talk about my favorite lid brushes. It's also another Fenty one. My favorite other lid brush right now is the eyeshadow brush. It's the number 200 from Fenty. It's just your regular eyeshadow brush, but what drew me to it is how wide that is. Like, that is really, really wide. I can really lay this on my crease and really deposit a lot of color because it's really dense, and I like how thin it is. So I can even like push it against my crease to get like a faux cut crease if I want to. It's a little bit more pricey, of course. Fenty brushes, I think, I'm not even gonna front, I don't know the price offhand, but I'll link it down below. But it is more expensive than the Morphe brushes. So I did wanna show you my favorite Morphe lid brush, which is the M167. And it's really, really flat and nice. It reminds me of the Fenty one, but it isn't as wide and it isn't as fluffy. This brush is really good for if you're about to go into some glitter, you gotta spray it with some Fix Plus to make it a little bit more metallic, you got a shimmer shadow. This is really good for stiff and sturdy to swipe that against the lid. I wouldn't use this for a shade like that. I would use this for a lid color that you're just gonna deposit as is. If you need to do any manipulation of your lid colors, I would go in with something that's a little bit more sturdy, like this one. The last brush that I have is my M432, looks like that. And it's pretty flat, and I like it because it really helps me sharpen my brows. That's what I use this for. It is a definer brush, so you can use it to deposit color on your lower lash line, blend out some color on your lower lash line. You can use it for that, but I use it to define my brow bone when I do my brows. I love it for that. It's right up against my brows, really, really sharp, really, really tight, and I literally take my concealer and just do little dabs like that to get the line that I'm looking for. I've used other brushes to cut my brow bone, but this one really, really does it for me. Alright guys, well that completes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe below. Join the team. What you waiting for? And check out my previous uploads. I love you guys. Thanks again for watching. Mwah! Take care. Bye.